dangerous phrase in any language is, but that's how we've always done it. The most incessant words are, there has to be a better way. And that is how my journey started. Hi, I'm Sonal Patel. I'm a traveling fourth trimester doctor that directly influences our country's economic GDP, gross domestic product. I do this by impacting families in the fourth trimester. What is the fourth trimester? Even if you don't know the terminology, you probably witnessed it or gone through it yourself. The fourth trimester is 3 months after the baby is born, more commonly referred as postpartum. I travel with my medical bags from homes to homes, easing the burdens of families and mothers entering this period. By changing the way that postpartum medical care is delivered, I am directly influencing our country's GDP. How? Let's connect the dots. The journey started like most do at home. For 10 years, I was pregnant, breastfeeding, and going through my own fourth trimesters, courtesy of my 4 sons. I made a great pregnant woman. A perfectly round belly, glowing skin, luscious flowing hair, and Instagram imagery capturing the ideal Hollywood model. Courtesy of Hollywood, we also know the looks and sounds of labor. A loud, screaming mother throwing derogatory remarks, attempting Lamaze, and desperately squeezing her partner's hand. Also me. Breathing always seemed to go throw out the window when faced with contractions. And thank God my husband's hand survived our 4 deliveries, because he's a surgeon. Then there's a bombastic cry announcing birth, relieving everyone with joy. A baby's first cry signals, for that moment in time, all is well in the world. But slowly, a newborn's cries and demands become more prominent, more robust, silencing a mother's struggles, my struggles. What are the images of postpartum? What are the looks? After birth, attention is diverted towards the infant away from the mother. This notion is perpetuated in Hollywood, our society, and our medical field. For me, postpartum literally tore me apart, physically, mentally, emotionally. Leaky, engorged breasts, accompanied with intense pelvic pains, diapers on both baby and me, tears always ready to roll down my face, and a sense of isolation. But wait, I'm a physician. More specifically, a pediatrician further trained in neonatology and married to a surgeon. I have the privilege of financial security, family support, and knowing the medical system with all its nuances and how to navigate them. I've witnessed postpartum. Why was I suffering? And if I was suffering, what about other mothers? The tipping point for me became the arrival of my 4th son and the 6-hour ordeal it took me to his first pediatric appointment. His earlier than unexpected arrival left me with little to no help, 3 older boys returning to school from winter break, a physician husband booked with surgical cases, a home renovation project, a mere 10-minute pediatric appointment, and snow. Exhausted. There has to be a better way. Those words kept nagging me. Why couldn't we deliver medical care to home in one of the most life-changing events in a person's life? Why couldn't we ease the burdens of families and mothers entering the 4th trimester? Why couldn't we value that postpartum mom and put her too on that Hollywood pedestal? So I transitioned out of my neonatal ICU job and began a new career as a traveling 4th trimester doctor. Now, why the change from postpartum to 4th trimester? The answer is to scientifically and socially understand the massive changes that mothers are going through while newborns are adapting to a world outside the womb. In 2002, Dr. Harvey Karp coined this term, the 4th trimester, recognizing that full-term babies are actually born about 3 months early. Human evolution causes disparity, causing an upright posture, smaller pelvic sizes, smaller skull, smaller brain, and thus early birth. Now, scientifically, looking at it through the 4th trimester lens, researchers have connected the role of progesterone, found in pregnancy, to postpartum depression, found in the 4th trimester. 1 in 7 mothers suffer from postpartum depression. Progesterone is a hormone that's needed in pregnancy to maintain pregnancy, increase uterus size, and prevent contractions. Around conception, progesterone hovers about 40 nanograms per ml. As pregnancy continues, progesterone steadily rises, peaking at about 350 at 40 weeks. Then, just after birth, with the delivery of the placenta, progesterone plummets back to baseline. This objective data, linking progesterone found in pregnancy and then continuing the conversation after birth into the 4th trimester with postpartum depression, recently led the FDA to approve a synthetic version of progesterone to treat postpartum depression. Now, another topic that is coming to light when we talk about 4th trimester is that we're losing more moms in this trimester than the first 3 trimesters combined. The death of a woman in this particular time of her life of pregnancy, birth, and postpartum is referred as maternal mortality. Maternal mortality is a barometer of a country's social and economic health. America's maternal mortality of 23.8 maternal deaths per 100,000 live births ranks last in industrialized nations, though spending the most in healthcare dollars. Of these maternal deaths, the latest data reported in September 2022 reported that 22% of moms are actually dying in pregnancy, while 78% are dying after birth, with a quarter in the first week of delivery. 4 to 5 of these pregnant deaths are preventable. Among states, a tapestry of healthcare systems also delivers variable numbers. Some states are comparable to Sweden, like California, and other states rival Iraq, like Georgia. Amongst these also, racial disparities are also evident, heavily skewed to the African American and indigenous mothers. A Black mother has 3 times higher risk of maternal mortality than her white counterpart. And extrapolating this data even further, a Black mother's higher socioeconomic and education status does not protect her from these risks. The leading cause of deaths also differ between races. White mothers are dying from suicide, and Black mothers are dying from cardiovascular risks. Stories depicting these disparities are more common than you think. Celebrities such as Drew Barrymore and Reese Witherspoon have openly talked about their struggles with postpartum depression. Cynthia Wickman, a Manhattan Caucasian lawyer, unfortunately succumbed to her struggles, leaving behind a grieving family and a 10-month-old son. Just recently, Serena Williams, the greatest of women's tennis players, retired. 5 years ago, she gave birth to a baby daughter and almost died. After her C-section, Serena Williams developed a pulmonary embolism, a blood clot in the lung, requiring 2 surgeries and spending the first week of her motherhood in bed. Dr. Chancey Wallace, an African-American physician practicing in Indiana, also delivered a baby girl. At 35 weeks, she was diagnosed with preeclampsia. 2 days after birth, she succumbed to complications of preeclampsia. There has to be a better way. There has to be a better way to address this pervasive tragedy affecting our country. Now, maternal mortality became a barometer of a country's socioeconomic status with involvement of the World Bank. In 1944, the World Bank was created to help rebuild post-war Europe. Early on, the World Bank recognized that investments in safe motherhood not only improved the health of the woman and her child and her family, but also yielded an increase in labor supplies and the well-being of the economic well-being of the community. Women are income earners through outside avenues of employment as well as traditional household duties. Plus, women usually stabilize the family unit, taking care of the young and old alike. A new mother's unexpected death not only leaves behind a newborn and sometimes older children, causing a generational effect, but also jolts a household economic foundation. In 2022, the Council of Foreign Relations estimated that if women were part of the same rate of labor force as men, America's economy would grow by $4.3 trillion in the next 5 years. Now, at this point, I could throw you some economic data, but just like all journeys, let's demonstrate some real-life scenarios and start at home. With my first pregnancy, labor did not produce the desired outcome, birth. On that monitor, every contraction plummeted my son's heartbeat. Within minutes, I was whisked away from my husband, shock settling, and I found myself under bright OR lights, trembling with fear, prepped for an emergency C-section. My whole body trembled. My mind tried to filter all possible outcomes. You see, I knew all possible outcomes. I'd been here before, but on the other side. I had attended numerous deliveries where distressed babies needed my help. This time, the distressed baby was mine. The worried and trembling mother was me. That emergency C-section saved my baby's life, and my amazing OB saved mine, because an unplanned emergency C-section compared to natural birth put me at a higher risk of death. At this point in time, I was completing my pediatric residency. My unfortunate demise would have left a newborn without a mother and a husband juggling a brand new baby and his surgical career. My residency program, who had invested time and money cultivating this pediatrician, would be scrambling to replace my void for my patients and my community. Currently, I've been practicing for over 15 years. And through that, I've not only contributed economically to my community, but the community at large has invested in me. There has to be a better way. A better way to invest in maternal care, thus reducing healthcare costs and as a byproduct, increasing our economy? The answer to there has to be a better way came to me in the form of medical fourth trimester home visits. Medical fourth trimester home visits recognizes that moms and newborns are connected in health despite physical separation of birth. For example, a mom dealing with uterine infection put on powerful antibiotics might not be able to fully breastfeed, or her baby dealing with jaundice might be too sleepy to nurse. Industrialized nations that boast low maternal mortality all have universal postpartum visitations in the fourth trimester. When 78% of moms are dying after birth and 4 to 5 of those are preventable, it begs the question, should we not have a universal solution to a problem that affects us all? I started as a traveling fourth trimester doctor about 5 years ago. The concept was old-fashioned and novel at the same time. During the pandemic, a lot more families chose in-home care. Repeat families instantly recognized the value of in-home care. Our home visits have reduced rehospitalization of newborns, addressed mental health timely issues with mothers and fathers, and directly saved 2 women's lives. My home visits always start off with a knock. Sometimes I'm greeted with a dad just trying to get his bearings. Sometimes an older brother trying to make sure that I'm doing my work right. Or a sibling trying to help me do my work. And mothers. What started as a moment of complete exhaustion, declaring there has to be a better way, is now creating a movement, propelling the conversation beyond birth into the 4th trimester, and truly recognizing the centrality of motherhood to the socioeconomic aspects of our families, communities, and nations. When we step away from, we've always done it this way, and lean into, there has to be a better way, we give ourselves the opportunities to lay down a stronger foundation for our future mothers. Thank you.